What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Here we are with another reaction. In this, we have 7 things every American should know before moving to the UK. Let's go ahead and dive in.
So there's been a lot of talk recently about people wanting to move to the UK. I'm hearing a lot of Americans moving over here in droves. But I got some tips that's going to help you be successful. As someone who's lived here for right at 5 years, I want to give you my 7 best tips to help you have a successful transition from where you are and into the UK.
Let's do it.
So the first tip for moving to the UK is that you need to visit here first. I would never tell anyone to
I
move
feel
to a
that.
country that they've never visited before. And I see people
Agreed.
do that all the time. They say, I want to go and I want to go live there. But have you been there to visit? Spend some time there. Have you studied up on the country, the culture? You should be delving deep into British culture as much as possible. If you want to come and live here, you need to know as much beforehand about what visa you're going to come here, what the school system is like as you have children. Of course, you know you're driving on a different side of the road. All those things that you need to start thinking about.
So,
But you first need to come and visit.
I completely agree with the man. These are definitely things you have to take into consideration, especially when you talk about moving to a completely different country. Completely different country. He's on the money.
Embrace politeness. The British are known for their manners. You definitely want to be polite. Please, thank you, yes, no. All those are wonderful and acceptable ways to communicate with people here. Communication is really essential. You will be called potentially darling or love, and that's something I personally had to get adjusted to when I first moved over here. I was not used to being called darling or love by anyone besides Blair, but I had to get used to that and accept it. And that's another cultural aspect of the United Kingdom that's really unique. You have to think about those aspects and those cultural aspects as you're preparing to move to the United Kingdom. I recently went to Chelsea Flower Show, and there was a magnificent display there from the South Africa delegation. They had this beautiful display centered around this flower, which is a South
Hey.
African flower. This is called a protea. And I'm here at a
Oh,
wholesaler, and I've been learning more about plants and flowers and florals, and I want to build a beautiful bouquet around this protea. So I've got some complementary colors, and I think Blair would think this is really pretty when it's done.
that, that flower,
So another cultural
I've
phenomenon in the
never seen anything like that. But definitely, I feel like embrace the politeness. I feel like coming from America, we're polite to an extent. Well, I'm from the South. You know, that's other hospitality, that's other niceness. But I feel like UK politeness is on the next level. Like, UK was built off that foundation.
UK is standing in queues. You have to get used to it.
Mm,
It's very common here. Now, of course, you stand in lines in the U.S., but standing in queues here is a bit of a cultural phenomenon. It's something that you have to get really used to here in the U.K. because you have to do it with grace. You're not standing in that queue upset that there is a queue. You're standing in that queue excited for the opportunity to be in the queue.
I ain't never been excited to be in a queue, dog. Oh my, okay, Michael. Michael, that came
When
back.
moving to the UK, you have to be open to different accents. There are a lot of different accents here. It's not just that London, South London, London Cockney accent. There are a lot of different accents. So if you're talking to someone who's from, say, London, or someone else who's from Birmingham, or someone who's from York, Northern England, Wales, Scotland, there are a multitude of accents. So you have to take that all in consideration and be open and accept that. It's a bit of trivia trying to figure out where someone is from
I feel
based
that.
on which accent they have. And I've talked about this before, but I really want to highlight the fact that driving here in the United Kingdom is quite different. Of course, you're on the other side of the road, but if you're going to be driving and living here, driving here over an extended period, past that 6-month normal visa that you can get as an American citizen, you're going to have to pass a British driving test if you're going to be driving here. And that is a hard test to take. It's a hard test to pass. You really have to study for it.
I
You're not
feel
going to be
that.
just walk in there and based off of your passing your American driving test, be able to pass the British driving test. That will not work. You actually have to put in a lot of study. You may actually even want to take a
Yeah.
driving class or two over here because you want to make sure you can get that British driving license. So if you want to be able to do that, you're going to have to put in some effort on that one as well. So be thoughtful of that. If you're driving in the United Kingdom over an extended period, you're going to be living here. You're going to have to pass a British driving test. Public
Yeah.
transit is
And
a
I feel
way of
like I don't know if it was the UK or the U or Australia where they said that the driving test is much more difficult than it is here in the US. And so I'm not sure which one that would be, but yeah, you don't want to have to. I wouldn't want to have to retake a driving test in another country. I can't do it again.
of life here in the United Kingdom. I'm a big driver because I'm, from the US, big country. We drive all over the place. But the thing to do is if you come to a city center, park your car as soon as you can. A lot of towns and cities actually have places for you to park outside and then they'll bus you in. Cambridge is one that I can think of is like that. But public transit, be open to taking public transit. It's a great option. It's cheap, it's consistent, and it gets you most places that you want to go. So I've also never walked as much as I walked here living in the United Kingdom. Just walkable city centers, just a great for walking, great for getting your legs activated, get moving.
Yeah.
So be ready to walk. You're not going to be able to drive right up to the front door of the store, park your car, get out, get back in your vehicle,
Yeah.
drive to the next store, park it. You don't have that
Yeah.
accessibility here. A lot of the shopping centers or any city center, and so you can't park there. So just be ready to get out of your vehicle, walk around and explore on foot and accept and take public transit.
I
Another
hear you on
consideration
that.
before moving to the United Kingdom is the fact that the food here tastes different. You go to the shopping centers, you buy the foods, you buy the meats, you buy your grocery, and you take it home and you prepare it, and it doesn't taste quite the same. Well, here they use a lot less preservatives, they use a lot less sugar, they use a lot less packing material inside the meats and inside of the foods, so they're going to have different flavors. You just have to get used to that, and there's nothing wrong with it. And that's not to say that the United Kingdom has bad flavors and bad food. I know that the UK gets a lot of bad rep over
Yeah.
the food. Personally, I love the fresh vegetables, the fresh meats, the fresh things that are available here. You take it home, you prepare it yourself, season it to your own taste, and it is delicious and it's wonderful. But you can also go out to a lot of great restaurants and get some really great food here. I think at maybe one time that may have been true, but in today's world right now, you can get some great food
Yeah.
here in the United Kingdom. So I really want to jump past that point, and you should as well jump past that point that you think that all the food here is bad. It may be different. I don't know why there's a mushroom on that plate with breakfast, but you know what? I'm open and I accept it, and you should too.
They said, I don't know why there's a mushroom on that plate with breakfast, but you know what, I'm open and I accept it. That's funny. But yeah, I feel like going to the UK, definitely ditch the car, stop paying. And unless it's absolutely necessary, ain't no need to pay that car note, to pay that car insurance, to pay for gas, to pay for maintenance, to pay for all of it. It ain't no need. Get on that public transportation, use their feet, and you can still get around to wherever you want to get around. So definitely rock with that. And then I trust him. I trust him when he said because I have seen videos of travelers going to the UK and trying food, and it just looking absolutely amazing.
A much less complicated issue here in the UK is the weather because it is variable. Today it has been hot, it has been cold. A few minutes ago it was raining, and now the sun is out, and I look up and I don't see a single cloud in the sky. That's all within like a 30-minute span. So, of course, you have to learn how to dress in layers. In general, the United Kingdom is much cooler than the United States. It is June, and for US temperatures, it is probably in the low, well, it's in the mid to upper 60s, whereas in the US right now, it's probably about a good 89, 90 plus degrees at the exact same time in the US. So the UK in general just runs much cooler. This I could be out in June with a t-shirt on. It's not just a t-shirt, but with like a jacket on. Several times today I have needed this jacket. Whereas if you were in the US at this time of year with a jacket on, you'd be smoldering. So the weather is variable, it's different. You have to learn how to dress in layers, but it's a consideration that it is much cooler here than in the US. Not to say that the UK can't get hot, because there's about 3 weeks in the middle of the summer and it's going to be absolutely blazing. You know, most places here don't have air conditioning. So if you're in a place with no air conditioning, and when it's that hot part of the summer, when it's really, really hot, the wind stops blowing, it's pretty rough. So then you're getting comparable weather. But across the span of the year, the temperature is cooler here.
Gotcha.
The United Kingdom has a phenomenal pub culture, so if you're looking to move here, then you should definitely be open to dipping into the pub culture. I'm a huge cider guy, and there is a phenomenal plethora of ciders that you can get here. Every single town and village and area has its own unique ciders, and as I enjoy ciders, I really enjoy going out and enjoying a lot of pubs. As you dipping into UK culture and kind of getting a better understanding of who the people are here, a great place to do that is at a local pub. It's where you can meet new people, new friends, and have a great time.
I feel that. I feel like yeah, pub culture is up and definitely gonna be a part of the UK culture, part of the UK life, and so much UK citizens have so much great things to say about the pub. Family friendly. You got pub gardens. You got all of the and pubs. From what I've seen, are where a community can come together, enjoy a drink, and have a good time.
Another big consideration when you're thinking of moving to the United Kingdom is that, especially if you're coming from the US, where everything is larger, well, in Europe, everything is smaller. Your refrigerator is going to be smaller. Your stove, your washing machine, your dryer, if your place even has a dryer, a lot of places don't have dryers. So you have to really consider that. In our home, we actually have two refrigerators. They're both smaller, and it's still 1/3 the size of what you normally have in just one large US side refrigerator. And your pots and pans, if you have those really large US pots and pans, they're not even going to fit on the stoves here. So you have to think about scaling down your life if you're coming to Europe. And I say Europe because that's kind of the UK and Europe across the board, but that's really a big consideration as an American who's used to big and expansive and tons of space. Now you're living in a much smaller apartment. You're driving in a much smaller car. You're operating out of a much smaller space. That forces you to think about downscaling and downsizing to what really matters the most in your life. But you have to consider that you're going to be operating in a space that is considerably smaller.
I feel like that is definitely a big difference, especially when it comes to the size of the refrigerator and the size of the stove top and all. If that's an adjustment that you're gonna have to make. These are definitely things I feel like that one I would take into consideration before moving, just because I would assume that every place had the good sized fridges and big stoves. Yep. Oh, they killing that.
So let me give you another tip, and this is potentially the most important information I'm going to pass in this whole video, and that is that the US and the UK banking system is not the same. And it doesn't matter when you're just at a shop and you want to buy something, you make a purchase, it's no problem. Your bank is going to convert that for you, or you can convert at the point of sale. But when you need to book and try to rent an apartment and you need to move large amounts of money, that's when you start to run into some real
Mm.
problems, because the UK system has sort codes and those don't line up with the US
Oh,
routing numbers for bank accounts. And it gets to be really tricky of how to go about making that work out for yourself. You also have no credit worthiness in this country. You
oh,
show up, oh, I want to rent this. Your credit in the US, doesn't necessarily convert over with you. So those are some really serious things that you need to consider
Yeah.
and take into consideration well before you get here is the issues with having a UK bank account. Because if you want to rent something here, if you want to turn on utilities here, you're going to have a British bank account. So definitely keep that in mind as you're considering your move.
Dang. I mean, those are definitely big things. Again, that you don't necessarily think about. I didn't necessarily think about it, but yeah, you're gonna have to switch up the banking accounts, and you gotta. And I didn't think about the credit worthiness. Starting from scratch with your credit. Whew.
So this is the perfect vase for the bouquet we're going to put together. And this green is going to go so well with that burgundy. So if you're thinking about moving to the UK, think about it, consider it, do your research, make sure you're prepared for it. There are a lot of pros and cons, and
Dang.
you can find a lot of videos that talks about the pros and cons of making that move and making that transition. But as someone who's lived here for right at 5 years, I want to throw one last bit of information your way. It's something to think about. There are a lot of professional and personal advancements that you can come across by moving outside of your country, your home country of residence. But there's also the fact that you are going to be separated by thousands of miles, potentially tens of thousands of miles. Well, the planet's not quite that big, but thousands of miles you will be separated from your friends and family. They will be in different time zones. Communication's not going to be there in some cases. Although we have great connectivity, the time zone difference is an issue. And you're not going to be there, and you're going to miss for some of the family's really personal events. You're going to miss birthdays. You're going to miss anniversaries. You're going to miss celebrations. You're going to miss parties. And unfortunately, you may not be there for some other life events as well. So that's something you have to consider. It's very expensive to fly back and forth between the United States and the UK. Unless you're independently wealthy, you'll only be able to do that periodically. So when you make that move to move overseas, to live in another country, it is a full commitment. You're living there full time. So really consider that. Think about that before you decide to jump and come over. But if you want to do it, if it works for you, if you feel as though you have the time, space, and opportunity, and you're able to add something beneficial to the country, and you feel as though it's a personal growth for you, and you can be very successful with it, then I encourage you. Yes, absolutely. Look into it. Think about it. Do it. But as I said it at the very beginning, be sure to visit first. Hey, if you like this content, be sure to like and subscribe. This is the bouquet that I pulled together. I think Blair is going to love it. It highlights the South African protea, which I find to be a magnificent flower. Tell me what you think. Drop down in the comments. Let me know. Until next time, take care.
It is absolutely beautiful. That bouquet was truly, truly gorgeous. He absolutely freaking killed it. And yeah, I do think that's the most important thing to consider if you're thinking about moving just out of your country to any country. Just that distance between you and your family, and those important things that you're gonna miss out on. Um, you just have to understand that that's gonna happen, and you have to still be willing to make the move. I didn't move out of the country. I moved to a different state here in the U.S. Well, I'm 12 hours away, and sometimes it's difficult to deal with the fact that like I miss out on those things with my family that I grew up with. Uh, I'm glad I made the decision because now I'm created my own family. That's all we got. If you guys enjoyed, don't forget to subscribe, give it a thumbs up, check out the next. I'll see